Hi, and welcome to the Nest CPR Allergies Ultimate Mothers Group session on how to prepare for a positive birth. I'm Karen McClay. I'm a midwife and a mother, and I'm also owner and director of Calm Birth, Australia's leading childbirth education program. And so to be here speaking with you about positive birth is something that I just love, because my whole organisation and all the work that I do in working with families is very much about helping them to achieve positive birth experiences. And I'd like to thank Heidi for inviting me to come and speak to you here today. So what I want to do today is really talk to you about positive birth. What is positive birth? Why is it important? And what can you do to prepare for a positive birth? So just let me get my little presentation up and we'll go through and have a look. I'll just share screen now. Okay, so preparing for that positive birth and the what, where, and why of why that is so important. Okay, so what is positive birth, you might ask? And this is an enormous question, an absolutely huge question. And the reason why is that it is completely different and unique to every single birthing woman and her partner. Because what positive birth comes down to is a woman's experience and perception on the day as to how her birth went. Now, a lot of the research that we're seeing that's coming out around what constitutes a positive birth is not actually how a woman gives birth, but rather how she felt giving birth, which is the most important thing here. Okay, so it's about whether she felt in control, whether she felt confident, whether she felt safe in that place. That is very much all of the elements that come into constituting a positive birth. So it's not necessarily how a woman is giving birth, but rather how she feels giving birth. And certainly when you talk to women about their experiences of birth, whether it be a month down the track, whether it be a year down the track, whether it be 10 years, even 30 years down the track, they will always speak about their birth journey in terms of their emotional journey, how they felt, how they were treated, how they made to feel, how they felt themselves in that situation. So a positive birth experience is a really, really important thing for women to be preparing for, as well as their partners as well, because partners are very much there to help hold that space and to help women maintain that safety in that space. And that's probably the biggest word here, is safety for women. When women feel safe, they feel nice and calm in that space, and they also are feeling private and respected. They're the elements that contribute to a positive birth. So why is a positive birth so important? Okay, and the reason why a positive birth is so important is because it not only affects the moment and that specific moment of birth, but that has a knock-on effect for the rest of that woman's life and that baby's life as well. And that's another thing that I'd like to really emphasize here. It's not just the woman who is experiencing birth, it's also her baby. And so when women prepare for birth, when couples prepare for birth, it's not just about preparing the right birth for them, it's also about preparing the right birth for their babies as well, because their babies experience birth as well. Okay, and the important thing to understand and why it's important is that it really sets and lays down a strong foundation for women and their partners and babies to launch themselves off into that space of family. Okay, so how a woman is feeling about birth will carry on into her emotional status, her mental status, particularly in that first 12 months of life, but it will also carry on into her relationships as well, her relationship with a partner, and most importantly, her relationship with her baby as well. So positive birth is a really important thing for couples to be striving for when they are preparing for birth. So what is it that couples can do to really prepare for birth in the most positive of ways? So the first one and the big one is to really think about and prepare even before time. If couples have got time, I will always say it's about the preparation starts even before you're pregnant. Thinking about what are you thinking and believing about birth, and what type of birth goes with those belief systems. And is that type of birth and the way that you are thinking and feeling and believing about birth going to help you to achieve a positive and an empowering birth journey? So the first big thing for couples to be doing, and one of the first big decisions for couples to be making, is thinking about their caregivers and place of birth. So they want to be picking a caregiver and place of birth that is going to really feed into that positive birth outcome that they are after. Okay, so does that caregiver sit with your philosophy of birth? Is that caregiver and place of birth able to give you the birth choices that you are after? So, for example, if a woman is wanting a water birth, then it's really important that she chooses a facility and a place to birth that does do water births. Okay, if a woman is wanting a vaginal birth after cesarean, then it's really important that she chooses a caregiver that is pro and comfortable with vaginal births after cesareans. We know with the research that they have a much higher rate of achieving that birth outcome that they're wanting to. We also know that for most women too, the research is showing that continuity of carer is really, really important. So that's having someone follow you through right the whole way through your pregnancy, is there with you through your birth and following you through in that postnatal period. And we certainly know that midwifery continuity of carer models are certainly the highest standard of care that women can go to who are low risk. And then, of course, those that have got other issues arising within their pregnancy, or maybe have different issues that they're bringing into that pregnancy where they need a higher level of care, then choosing an obstetrician that is able to work and help you to achieve the birth outcomes that you are after and matches your philosophy of birth. So choosing your caregiver and place of birth is really, really important. Then the next one is get educated. And this is the thing that I'm most passionate about, is really getting educated. Our culture around birth is quite negative still. We are moving and changing a lot with a lot of things like such as calm birth coming onto the scene and educating couples around the positive sides of birth and empowering them about what birth actually is. But there's a big movement of positive birth coming up around actually globally with organizations such as the Positive Birth Movement, which are making a real difference, and where women are actually hearing the positive stories of birth now as well, where once upon a time we only heard the negative. And the thing is too, is also in this time of getting educated, it's also very important to examine what your belief systems are about birth, and not only your belief systems and what they are, but where have they come from. A lot of our beliefs around birth are coming from places that are not evidence-based. So for example, they're coming from Hollywood movies and television. They're coming from the media, which often presents a very biased point of view depending on who the writer is and who the audience that they're writing for is as well. So it's really looking at where is that coming from. It may have come from Year 9 Science or PDHPE, where the whole premise of teaching childbirth education reproductive health is about contraception as opposed to empowering those youngsters around what birth actually is. So it's about really examining what you're thinking and feeling about birth, and is this going to help you to achieve that best birth experience that you're after for both you and your babies. And what you need to then do is go, all right, well, what information do I then need to know? If there's information that's coming up that's making you feel nervous or anxious around birth, what information do I need to get? What questions do I need to ask? Who do I need to seek out to make me feel better about this situation? And you will find with just a little bit of knowledge how those little fears and anxieties can certainly get even tossed away or very much put in their place and put into perspective for couples to realize that birth is a very normal and natural process of the female body, and we're made to do this. What we need to do, particularly in our culture, in our society, is trust it. Okay, and that's one of my favorite words when it comes to birth, is just trusting. Okay, trusting ourselves and surrendering into that process and working with it. Whereas at the moment, when we bring a lot of fear into that space, we lose that trust and lose our ability to work with birth. And in fact, what we have a tendency to do is work against it. So getting educated by coming to really high quality holistic programs such as Calm Birth is really important. Reading some great books. Some of my favorite books that I love to recommend to people are books such as this one, Ina May Gaskin's Guide to Childbirth. I love Millie Hill's Positive Birth book. That's a fantastic one as well. Sarah Buckley has done a lot of work looking at the hormonal physiology of women, and her book Gentle Birth, Gentle Mothering is also a beautiful book. Millie Hill has also just written a great book, which I just love. And this is where you can find your strength and your oomph, girls, and your voice. And this is it here. Birthing is a feminist, give birth like a feminist. Your birth, your baby, your body. And this is a really good one. And it gives you a really interesting glimpse into the system. And also, again, why it's important for women to find their voice within the system and start to navigate their way to understand that they are in charge of their own births. Their caregivers are there simply to walk through it with them. Okay, and then the next one that I really love is Rhea Dempsey. Rhea Dempsey's beautiful book. This is an oldie but a goodie. Okay, Birth with Confidence. It's a great one. She's also released a new book as well, which I recommend, but I do love this book. I always come back to it. And then finally, one of my favorite books that has just recently come out is this book here called The Birth Map. Okay, by Catherine Bell. And this is basically a really great tool to give you a scaffold for you to plan your birth and mind map your birth and ensure that you are making an informed decision the entire way through your pregnancy and your birth and through even into that postnatal period. So these are the books that I recommend. I also recommend going and getting looking at some great podcasts as well. There's really good ones. I love evidence-based birth. We've got our own podcast called the Calm Birth Conversations, where we interview a whole lot of experts around birth and different topics as well. You can have a listen to that. There's beautiful ones like the Australian Birth Stories, which gives you lots of positive stories for women that have given birth all different ways, right from home birthing all the way through to elective cesareans or highly medicalized births, and how they found positivity and empowerment in those different birth journeys as well. Okay, so getting yourself educated, doing a high quality childbirth education program like Calm Birth that can really help to set you along the way to know the questions to ask, the information that you need to know, and to really ensure that you are in control of your own birthing journey and the decisions that you are making. It's about you finding your voice in this. Then prepare and start to get ready. And it's about preparing not just emotionally and mentally, which is what Calm Birth is very much about, but it's also about preparing physically as well. Understanding that the day that you give birth, yes, it is a day or two or maybe even 3 for some couples, but it is a day that you need to be prepared at all levels, physically and mentally. It's just like running a marathon. It's different to a marathon, but it can be likened to a marathon, where marathon runners don't just turn up to the event. They have spent months preparing and getting themselves ready for this, again, not just physically, but also emotionally. So I always advise that couples do, from a physical point of view, doing stuff that keeps them fit and healthy, eating nutritionally, going and doing lots of exercise, gentle exercise like yoga. I'm a big fan of yoga. Swimming, I think pregnant women, swimming is amazing because it's low impact, but it still helps to keep up that stamina, still helps to keep that pelvis nice and balanced as well. Going and looking at programs as well that help physically, like such as Spinning Babies is a really great website that you can go to have a look at getting some exercises to do. I always talk to women about going and speaking to women's health physios and having a one-off appointment so that they can get their pelvic floor assessed and their pelvis assessed, so that then they can start doing their Kegels. And one of the reasons that I love those pelvic floor exercises in birth is not just to help strengthen the pelvic floor, which we know really helps with the physicality of birth, but also for women to understand and become body wise and know where that baby's coming to and know when it feels like they're holding it tight, but also learning to relax it, which is one of the most important things in birth. If you feel that your pelvis is a little tight, going and getting some body work done via a physio or an osteo or chiro or a good remedial massage therapist, just to make sure that that pelvis is nice and relaxed, because again, it's that pelvis that is your instrument of birth, and your baby is coming through you. You are the vessel that your baby's coming through, and it's really important for you to be able to create space. And creating space at that physical level is really about helping that pelvis stay nice and balanced and open and understanding it. So doing some exercise, as I said, and also going and seeing a physio, osteo, chiro is wonderful as well. Seeing other complementary health practitioners as well, such as acupuncturists, naturopaths, nutritionalists, all of those that can help you with diet and help your nervous system be in the right space that it needs to be for you to give birth. So that's all about preparing physically for birth. But birth is very much an emotional journey, and preparing emotionally is incredibly important. Again, getting yourself educated, getting good evidence-based research and understanding exactly what's going on in your body, getting your partner educated is incredibly important as well with this, so that you have a strong understanding of what birth is all about and understand how to work at it at an emotional level as well. One of the big things that we teach here at Calm Birth is deep relaxation techniques, because meditation and relaxation is a wonderful way to help retrain your response to stress, so that you are able to trust that birth process and really move into it at all levels, emotionally and physically. And what you will understand and learn, particularly if you do come to a Calm Birth program, is that our thoughts are not separate from our bodies. So when we have an open mind, we have an open body. Craig Hassard, who is an amazing lecturer down at Monash University for the School of Medicine and is very big on bringing mindfulness and the mind-body connection into mainstream medicine, he talks very much around, if we have a tense mind, we have a tense body. So I like to see it that if we have an open mind, we have an open body, and that's what we need to give birth as comfortably and as effectively as possible. That open mind, so that our bodies can open and we can surrender into that process. So doing things that chill you out, that relax you, getting that beautiful oxytocin nourished and soaked environment even before birth is really, really important. Now, oxytocin is our connection hormone. It's our love hormone. It is our hormone of reproduction. It's our hormone of birth. Without oxytocin, a woman's body will not give birth. It's also our hormone of trust. And when women are nourished and surrounded by that oxytocin through their pregnancy, because they're feeling safe, calm, and private, and particularly through their birth, where it's essential for them to feel safe, calm, and private, and have people around them holding space, then they are able to then move on and move through birth, not just physically, but emotionally safe. And that's what's really, really important for that positive birth experience. Okay, so preparing at all levels and getting yourself educated is incredibly important. The final one is thinking about your support team. Who's going to be there? We've talked about choosing the right caregiver for you. That's incredibly important, but who else is going to be in that space with you? For the vast majority of women, particularly here in Australia, it's going to be their partner. So does their partner understand birth? Does he or her trust birth? Do they know what their role is? Do they know how to work with it? Do they know how to support you, how you need them to support you? Do they know how to be the partner that you need them to be? So it's incredibly important that they get themselves educated as well, that they go to as many antenatal appointments as what they can. Now, I know that is tricky at the moment with COVID, but doing things like FaceTiming them into those appointments is really important, so that they feel very much part of the team as well. Again, and doing a program and a childbirth education program that values the role of the partner, and that really can help to educate them in the way that they need to be, so they know what their role is. I'm a really big believer that when you've got a partner who's on board and very, very present in the space, that woman's ability to feel safe, calm, and private is absolutely enhanced, because often in most cases it is her partner that she feels safest with. And so when he knows what to do and how to support her, then that's incredibly a powerful thing. Okay, do you need to look at a doula? Okay, doulas are amazing. They're professional support people, and often they're there to support the partner so that that partner can then support his birthing partner or her birthing partner in that space as well. And they're, again, part of that continuity of care and model as well. They meet you in pregnancy, and they follow you through in that, particularly that early phase of labor, and will follow you in as your support person. They're not medical, so they're not there in a medical role. They're purely there to provide that emotional and physical support so that women, once again, feel safe, calm, and private. So it's around working around who that circle is around you. If you are thinking about your mum coming in to support you, or your sister, or your best friend, what are their belief systems around birth? What do they believe? Are they going to be able to support you in a way that you need them to support you? Have they given birth before? What's their experience of giving birth before? Have they had a traumatic experience? Are there issues that they need to move past so that, again, they can be the birth support that you need? And these are all questions that you need to be doing. Do they need education as well? And what communication do you have with them? And then that's that other big word, that word communication, and really communicating with all your support team, your caregivers. And that communication does not start in the birth room. It needs to start way before, where every appointment that you go to, you walk in with a handful of questions saying, all right, what's your policy on this? How do we work with this? If this happens, what do we need to do? What do I need to look at? What are my options? What are my choices? You have options and you have choices in absolutely everything. And no one can do to you what you don't want them to do to you. So it's really important that you are asking about what your options are and what your choices are, getting the information on all of them, working out the pros and the cons, and working out what feels right for you. If you need to then go back and ask more questions, ask more questions. If you need to get a second opinion, get a second opinion. Because once again, as we said at the beginning of this little session, was the most important thing for women is to feel that they have made informed decisions around their birth, and that they are comfortable with the decisions that are being made, so that they feel in control of their birthing journey and that they have voice within their birthing journey. That is what contributes to a positive birth. So coming back and wrapping up all of this, I'll just come out of my presentation. Really, a positive birth is incredibly individual to every single woman and her partner. And what it is up to that couple to create their journey and to discover what is going to be the best birth for them and their baby, to create that positive experience. And the way that they do that is to get the right people around them for them, but also to get educated and get fully informed and ask lots and lots of questions. Because with knowledge comes confidence. And when a woman is confident, she's able to dismantle her fears and move towards a positive birth. And that is the essential ingredient for a positive birth. So I hope you've enjoyed my little chat on our session around how to prepare for positive birth. If you want any more information around calm birth, you can go to our website on calmbirth.com.au, or you can join us on our social media on Facebook and Instagram. I wish you all the very, very best with your journey and preparing for a positive birth.